So, you've probably been looking lately for the quickest and least painful way to kill yourself, and now you're confused about which way is the best. Maybe you've been cutting your arm, or binging Addies, Xanax, or alcohol, all to just quiet the chaos in your head. You stood in front of a mirror and contemplated yourself smashing it and slicing your throat with a piece of glass, only to end up sobbing and feeling sorry for yourself. And those around you keep spouting the same tired cliches like they've got all the answers, but they can't seem to help but laugh at the things you're into. But deep down, you don't want to kick the bucket, you just want the pain to stop, right? I mean, isn't it strange how you feel so grateful your past attempts didn't work out, yet you're still drawn to the idea? So maybe you just want to put an end to the part of you that's hurting, not actually die. Remember, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. In fact, it's not even a solution because that's just waving the white flag and letting the normies win without them even trying. And I don't know exactly what you're struggling with, but I've seen a lot of people like you already have very similar struggles. And ironically, virtually all of them can be solved. You might say, I don't believe you, but I'll prove you wrong. You'll see. So maybe you're a sub 5 who continues consuming black pill content. Although the facts are facts and I'll admit they are all true, it doesn't mean necessarily that you have no shot at anything. And that kind of content just keeps you in a loop of confirmation bias where you could be improving your SMV in some way. I know you won't have as much opportunities with Stacy's as Chad Thundercock, but that's just how it is. You may not be perfect, you may have flaws, but you're made up of trillions of atoms and you create millions of red blood cells every second. So you are something and you should make the most of that something. You might talk about your mental illness, quote unquote, but remember John Nash who had schizophrenia? He got actually recovered from it and didn't need medication anymore, even though most docs tell you it's a lifelong thing, you'll have to pop pills forever. But let me tell you about an old study from the 50s that you might not have heard of, but will probably surprise you. So in UVM, the staff at a hospital helped schizophrenic patients develop skills, cope with daily life, and regain confidence. After a few months at this program, many of the patients who hadn't responded to medication alone were able to return to their communities. 62 to 68% saw significant improvement or complete recovery. 45% no longer showed signs of mental illness 30 years later. But sadly, most people with mental health issues are only treated in generic centers without that specific care offered in UVM. So it's not just about a chemical imbalance, this is just a piece of the puzzle. Maybe you're also complaining about normies, but let me ask you, why the fuck do you care about how they think you should do? Just because you do things normies don't do doesn't mean you're odd or doing anything wrong. I mean, the folks in the Roman Coliseum watched people killing each other for entertainment and thought it was perfectly normal. So maybe you just want to say no and leave it at that. They may get mad, but at the end of the day, they're only thinking about themselves, not how you're affecting them. And you know exactly not everyone is gonna like you no matter what, so screw them, unironically. Some in your family might threaten you if you choose some decision, but you can deal with it by firstly standing up for yourself because in this way their perception of you changes. They'll start seeing you being more firm in your intentions, and also you might want to get to understand how they think in order to get into a mutual deal, hopefully. And if you're not sure about conventional career path, you don't have to follow the corporate world. You can blaze your own trail through entrepreneurship by helping people with subject that interests you. You don't need a fancy degree. Everything you need is online. And at the end of the day, money is all about trading value. That's all it is. There is maybe another thing you're struggling with, which is about the state of the world. You see, dealing with miseries or wars or whatever, but you're not guilty of anything. There is no reason to watch the news or get mad at things you can't control. I mean, just think about it. The news is just some other kind of gossip on things that are mostly irrelevant to you and exaggerated just to make you mad and keep you distracted. There is already so much good in the world, but they don't want to cover it for that exact reason. You might feel guilty for something wrong you've done, which reminds me of myself a couple of years back when I had a best friend. Something happened that I didn't accept and I crossed boundaries, tried to manipulate him, and stalked him until he cut me off. And I didn't even realize until I read a book. And I was like how the heck did I know how to manipulate people? But it turns out to be a normal thing once emotions take control. I learned my lesson and hopefully won't make that mistake again. Uh, it may it might be more severe if you still remember childhood trauma such as sexual abuse. I know how vulnerable or shameful you might feel, but really, if you feel vulnerable, you're more likely to become even more this way. So don't get stuck in your past. It doesn't define you, it's unproductive, and it will not give you any benefit. You may cut out alcohol, which just messes with your head and distorts reality. You can just minimize drinking it each day while educating yourself on the long-term effects and finally weaning yourself off it, similar to how I quit Instagram a few years ago. Maybe consider getting some exercise. The best thing about it is that when you finish it in a few weeks, it'll make you feel like you can achieve something no matter how bad you thought yourself to be. It also makes you fit and it gives you a fresh air and endorphin boost. It reminds you of the beauty of the world. And don't stress up about diets, just avoid energy drinks and junk foods, and you'll feel much better after this. For meditation, I think it's kind of lame. Maybe instead just sit with your thoughts in silence for about 15 minutes a day and try to get bored since it makes you creative and clears your mind. And feel everything you had inside without judgment or anything, even though they tell you boys don't cry. And just don't try to suppress your thought. I'm not saying you are your own thoughts or feelings, but you should be aware of them and see if they make sense or not. I believe you might also want to journal by asking yourself, most importantly, why do I think suicide wasn't appropriate, even the only option? It's not about identifying reasons for your suicide attempt. It's just a way to create some room to see that you're not locked in a coffin sinking in the sea. Along with this, it might be beneficial talking to a friend who's not judgmental, and if you don't have one, you can just go to an anonymous forum like Wizard-chan or Lain-chan. You don't want to expect anybody to fix you, but just for them to listen. And in fact, if you read the threads in these image boards, you'll feel like crying and realize you're not alone. Like, there are lots of people like you going through the same struggles or even worse. Even some like Abraham Lincoln have gone through this. So you should not keep your problems a secret because this makes it seem like it's your fault or it's incredibly uncommon. Remember this, you are the only one holding yourself back. You'll need some effort to get through your problems, yes, but there is a light in the tunnel, I believe. I know you might cringe at optimism, but it's at least less worse than feeling defeated. And again, just go do something. You'll probably remember yourself today and cry euphoric tears. So again, what are you waiting for? Just do something right now, right? The last thing I'd like you to do is to keep yourself safe and toss out the things that could harm you. And that's all. Thanks for watching.